My guest today is Bonnie Boezman, who spent 23 years in executive roles with Time Warner and holds several non-executive roles on a variety of public, private, government and philanthropic boards in Australia. She's currently the Managing Director of Business Benefits International and the Chairman of PayPal. Bonnie, welcome to In Her Shoes.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Tell us what your company does.
Well, what my company does is I effectively opened up a company so I could actually be a consultant or be a professional non-executive board director. And so the reason why I called it international is when I first left Time Warner, I was asked to actually go back to Europe and to be a strategic advisor to very large corporations. And I did that for a couple of years. But then I decided that the tyranny of distance was killing me. And I used to have to travel a lot around the world for Time Warner, so I decided to just come back and be a non-executive board director. And if someone needed my expertise, then they could hire me through my company.
We're going to talk a little bit about your board roles, but I wanted to firstly ask you about your skill set. When I look at your resume, your skills go across marketing, finance, strategy, IT,
Yes.
product.
Yeah.
Was it a strategic career decision to have a broad skill set, or did it just pan out that way?
Well, it's a great story for me, and the company used it as a sort of a model. I actually had the opportunity, at the stage that I changed my career direction, I was the business manager for Europe for Time Life Books and Music and Movies. And I went to the managing director and I concocted this idea, it was 1979, that they would hire someone to take my role and that I would become an executive trainee for the corporation. And he said, why would you like to do that? And I said, if I did do that, by the time I went to every department in the corporation, learned everything that everyone was doing, gave advice based on my financial background and my marketing background, then I would suddenly be ready to become a chief executive. And he said, gee, you come up with this idea and you're like 29 years old. And I said, well, my passion is not to be the treasurer of the corporation. Right. My passion is to have the skill base to know everything about the company. And so I treated Time as my university. And I actually learned on the job every aspect of publishing through the company. And I promised the chief executive, I said, I will create a $1 million book. And I said, and I believe that in the time I train and go around to all the different departments, I will save the company $1 million a year. And he was flabbergasted, and he said, well, you know you're a woman, and it's 1979. It's going to be very hard for me to get this through New York and get an approval from the top executives. He said, but I love your ideas. So he managed to get it through. It was true, I was a trailblazer. There wasn't a female running any divisions at that stage of the company. And I did save $1 million in that first year. I did learn everything about editorial, about marketing, about quality customer service, about warehousing, about IT, about programming. I went into every department, sometimes stayed overnight, like in the case of the programmers, and worked with them on the computers during the night because we were around the clock, and kept on writing reports about ways to save money and then going in and implementing the savings. So I ended up saving the company per annum $1 million, and they sent me to Paris. And they said, well, if you can do this, why don't you go to Paris and run the marketing division for the Paris operation? And that was all the countries around France, so France, French-speaking Belgium, and Northern Africa. And it was a wonderful opportunity for me. I was married, I commuted, so I flew home every weekend to Amsterdam from Paris. But that was the turning point for my career, because education, I always say to everyone when I'm mentoring them, is power. And if you have the power of education, you can move mountains. You can run anything.
As you said, you've set up your current business to allow you to take part in numerous boards, and right now you're on at least 7 boards. I think we counted earlier. So a bit of a serial board member.
Yes.
What do you enjoy most about taking on roles on boards?
Well, the first thing I enjoy is the diversity. It's very eclectic to be able to be on a property board and to be on a board that's cutting edge in technology and the internet, or to be, you know, I was on Sydney Harbour Foreshore, where we put on 200 major events around the rocks in Darling Harbour. The diversity is amazing. Prudential insurance, the insurance industry, the list was a mile long of what I've already participated in. Funds management with perpetual trustees for 10 years. So again, if you have the education, you can be on a number of boards, because once you're a chief executive, as I was for 13 years here, you actually can advise chief executives of other boards because you've already been there. You've had the knowledge and expertise. You've run into the problems they're running into now. You've found a way to solve them. And so CEOs of companies really relish meeting board directors who have had chief executives experience. So I had that. So it's been fascinating, educational, exciting. I could tell lots of stories about things we accomplished, as directors and giving advice, but we have the fiduciary responsibility of the company.
Right.
And people have to remember that the directors themselves are the ones that have the responsibility, but also have the serious, responsibility with the regulators. They come to the directors, they don't go to the executive management first and try to resolve whatever the issues are.
You obviously have a lot of experience. One of the things in looking at your resume and preparing for today is that you've been awarded the Order of Australia, a Centenary Medal by the Prime Minister, Papal Knighthood, and the list goes on, lots of industry achievements. But towards the end of your resume, this floored me. It lists your personal details and it says, good references will be provided. And I went, you don't need references.
I know.
You've done so much and your experience speaks so loudly. What is it that you consider your biggest achievement, having such a long list of what others would, dream of having?
Yeah. There have been several. It's kind of hard to focus in on one particular one. But I firmly believe my biggest achievement, and I'm very proud of this, and I probably die a happy person now, is all the staff and all the peers that I've interacted with and the success we've made, and bringing young people forward and seeing them successful has given me a sense of self, because I didn't have anyone to mentor me. All my career, 23 years at Time Warner, I had a couple of key executives that were very supportive, but I wouldn't consider them mentors. It was dog eat dog. We were in 96 countries, and there was not one woman running anything. And if you look into the media industry, there are now women coming up through the ranks that run things, but there's still very few. And so I was an oddball when I came here in '83 to be a chief executive as the only one. And so therefore things were really tough, and I said to myself, when I have this expertise, I'm going to give it back to young people. And that's why I'm on so many pro bono boards, because I'm going to give back the expertise. I'm going to nurture and bring, in particular, women along the journey and help them raise money and help them get ahead. So one of the things I'm most proud of, along with Chief Executive Women, that we started, there were 12 of us that started it under a lady by the name of Barbara Kale, is that we started in 1985 expressly to raise money to actually send women off to get MBAs or different types of scholarships. They couldn't afford it, but we knew they were very talented. And when you keep on doing this and helping younger people up through the ranks, that self-satisfaction is the most exciting thing that you can actually go to your grave with, is to see that you've helped people along the way.
Well, congratulations, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Cheers.